What's good, people? What's poppin'? Eagles victory. We have some controversy around it, as always, because you wouldn't be an Eagles fan. Nothing is ever perfect until you win the Super Bowl, which is okay with me. But they did win, so this is a victory Thursday. A lot going on, lots to talk about. Obviously, this is hopefully the drive to the Super Bowl, but game one is down. There needs to be some more wins. But first ahead is this week against the Los Angeles Rams. I'm the Godfrey, as usual. Cool should be joining us soon. He's navigating the rough roadways down there. And I got the NFL genius to my left. Gene, were you surprised that the Rams are going to be the opponent with the way everything played out on Wild Card Weekend?
Nope. I'll tell you, man, we did this on sideline to sideline, and it's the same thing. I knew exactly who was going to win that football game. The moment that matchup was set, I predicted it. I predicted it almost. I said if the Rams don't turn the football over, they will win this game easily. It will not be a question. Especially after the wildfires that happened in LA, the momentum of the city, it was easy to me.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd be a factor. I was on the other side of it, but were you more surprised though about Washington's defeat of Tampa Bay on the road?
There you go. Yeah, I guess I was surprised about it. I had picked the Buccaneers. You're right, so that wouldn't be the opponent, so that's why that question makes sense. I picked Tampa Bay, but this is not a game I wanted to bet, not a game I wanted to pick to begin with. I thought it was going to be very close. It exactly was. And in the end, the Buccaneers did what they found to do all year and lost the game. And their Commanders found what they needed to do all year and they won the game. So I'm somewhat surprised at that game. I look at those two football teams. I think the Buccaneers are a better football team. But at the end of the day, I didn't have any question about if we were going to play the Rams or not. My question was whether or not the Buccaneers would end up beating the Commanders, which they did not.
Yeah, they did not. The thing about it is I picked the Buccaneers to win that game. However, in retrospect, I should have thought it out more because there's two factors in that game that stayed true. One, the Buccaneers to be inconsistent and give the game away inexplicably at certain times against teams of lesser talent, if you will, on certain parts of the team. The other part is the Commanders are the luckiest team alive this year. I mean, that they hit the right doink. They were on the inside of the dollar bill, as they talked about on Prime. That was a Prime game, right? Am I wrong? No, that was a different game. I'm trying to remember which playoff game was a Prime game. But to the Hail Mary, to the Devontae Smith drop pass, there's many, many things where it has gone in the favor of the Washington Commanders. So looking at that in retrospect, I guess I'm being a 2020 a backseat driver here. But I guess it really shouldn't be surprising that the Commanders pulled off the upset.
I guess not. But at the end of the day, the Commanders did us a favor. I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles have a much easier opponent this week than the Buccaneers and the Rams. I'm looking forward to it. We'll break down that. We're obviously going to recap the Packers game, but the NFC could not line up any better than it has so far.
Yeah, I agree. And to circle back to that, the thing that I was questioning about the Buccaneers going into, and they were playing in this game, make no mistake, they struggled against Spencer Rattler and a toothless Saints team.
Yeah, but so did the Commanders. If you remember, the Commanders just 2 weeks prior struggled at New Orleans, and they barely won.
But they had Derek Carr at least in that game. Am I wrong?
They didn't. They had Spencer Rattler. Derek Carr's been out for 8-9 weeks.
Yeah, I thought they had someone else in that, but even still, they did. You're right. But I expected. See, the thing is, I would expect a team like Washington because of where they were at from year over year, injury to Austin Eckler, things of that nature, to affect them in a game like that. But the Buccaneers, talent-wise, coaching-wise, the quarterback did lead the league in turnovers in a sense. I believe he led the league in interceptions, and maybe it was fumbles as well. But
Who?
Losing Godwin. They just seem to, like, when there's these games they should win, they just seem to find ways to lose it. Like the Cowboys game comes to mind, right? Like I was like, how do they lose to this Cowboys team? And it was just mistake after mistake. And when you look at that game, it was a botched handoff, a play that they didn't get the handoff in time correctly, so they get them on a 4th and inches. It's just like, so. Listen, but credit to the Commanders for being there to play well on their side and win the ball. I just was amazed because that doink just is a microcosm of their season, I feel. You know what I mean? I'm like, of course they would make that. Of course, But
that is what we're looking at in the NFL playoffs. By the way, I put a post up on TikTok agreeing with you, saying that the Commanders are one of the luckiest teams in all of football this year. And they remember me, the Cardiac Cats, that Carolina Panthers team.
I was thinking that like a second ago, but keep going with that, please.
The whole Chicago Bears team that had every balanced defensive touchdowns. They are who we thought they were.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember those teams.
Mm-hmm.
And this Commanders team reminds me of that football team a ton. I put a post up, and it's got a lot of engagement in it. I get it. One thing I'll never understand, and I'll get into my counterfeit green a little early today, is the people that go on like people's TikTok or Instagram or Facebook reels and comment about my take with the only take you have is with a double quarter pounder, and like they make fat jokes on TikTok. Like, do you have nothing better to do?
My God.
It's so embarrassing. Like, I look at these people, like I look at that moron at the Philadelphia Eagles game. Well, no, I kind of wanted to lead into the moron in the Philadelphia Eagles game that lost his job, lost everything. You know the guy I'm talking about.
Did he lose his job? I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, it made the news.
Ryan Caldwell lost his job, had to put a statement out. I mean, that moron does not depict who we are as the Philadelphia Eagles fans. But it's also the reason I hate going to football games, Godfrey, because if I was there, I would have defended the woman.
Me too. I would be like, yo, what kind of language is this to talk to a and I'm not a Mr. like manners type of guy. Like, I'm definitely not that dude. Some people even describe me as like rough around the edges, but there's a line that can't be crossed. And that is a line that I would not find acceptable. Because to me, even though I didn't do it, it's embarrassing for me to be in this city and you represent my city wearing the colors of my team and talking to a visiting fan like that. It's an embarrassment. And I don't take ownership of it. However, it still is an embarrassment to me because you shouldn't be acting like that. And here's the thing about this. I love that you brought this up because we have a little extra time because we're only talking about one game. Well, 2 games really. But I wanted to slightly touch on this because I had a conversation about this concerning fans, right? And this is an unpopular opinion, but there's a way to solve this, or at least solve part of it. And I really think the NFL should model themselves after the English Premier League and how they handle fans and alcohol. I've been to these games overseas. They're very hotly contested, and I'm talking about rivalry games, okay? If you don't know soccer, my apologies. But one would be the Gunners versus the Spurs. If you know it, it's a very heated rivalry. Here's what they do differently and what I think we should do in NFL stadiums. First of all, if you're an away fan, there's a specific section you could buy tickets for, and you're only to sit in that section, okay? Point blank. That is how they do it. Second, you can buy alcohol, but only in the VIP level. You got to buy it before the game. And if you buy alcohol in the VIP level, you can't take it back out to the seat. Now, why do I think that will work in Philadelphia? Because people go out and they get drunk as shit. People love to tailgate, and it's fun. It's not my scene. I'm not a tailgate, bro. What you say?
They get blitzed before the game.
Yeah, but then you're also at least getting 2 to 3 beers when you get inside the game. You know what I mean? It exacerbates the situation. You're not going to be able to ban tailgating. Fine. But I think if you can lessen the behavior a little bit, because really there's fans like me and Gene or other fans that would never go to that level, right? We enjoy the sport. And there's a lot of people that even spend good money on tickets and it's their right to go there to just fucking fall asleep and be drunk at the game. I've seen it multiple times, or to just even tailgate. I want to go to watch the game, right? That Packers fan traveled here, even if they might be local. I don't remember.
They're an hour away. He actually had a GoFundMe to get people to pay for him to go to the game.
Okay. Wow, that's incredible. I would never go find me anybody to go to a game, but that's another story. Listen, football's my favorite sport. It was probably my least favorite sport in person for a couple different reasons. It's expensive, people like that. The tailgate atmosphere is fun. It can be fun, but it also could be very volatile. And people tend to get trashy when they drink too much alcohol. And it is gluttony to the highest level at the tailgate. Now, there's people that don't drink and you can have fun and people make their individual choices. So I'm not saying make laws or anything like that, but it's embarrassing, man. Like, what kind of person are you to do that? And I have to think that this guy, who said this deeply regrets it. But under alcohol, drinking like that, he was willing to risk it all, right? Just for what? To get over and dunk on a Packers fan? You're not even playing for the team. They're not paying you any damn money. Your career isn't tied to them, and you threw away everything because of that. Do I feel sorry for this guy? No, I don't.
No.
Do I think he's a bad person overall? He might not even be. He might have had a bad moment. Still, he's got to take responsibility for that.
Moment, though, bro.
What'd you say?
I don't care if it's a bad moment, though. Doesn't matter to me. You don't talk that way to a woman. And listen, sometimes
I don't disagree.
Sometimes you have to have bad circumstances to find out what's truly inside of a person. And I always say this all the time. People are like, "Oh, I got drunk and I said something I shouldn't have said, and I lost my job. That's not the way I feel." No, bro. The way you feel is the things you say in your worst moments, right? When you're in an argument and you say something to someone that's real vile, that's the way you inner feel. That's how bad of a person you are. It's not, I got heated and I said some stuff. No, that's the way you feel. Like, that's why when people do that stuff with like racism and sexism, where someone, I got real heated and I said something I shouldn't have said. No, that's the way you feel. It just took that situation to bring that out of you. So I have no love lost for that comeback.
So can you put that comment up on the screen there, Gene, that Trevor made about Mikey Miss doing a deep dive?
I don't care about this.
Well, let me follow me. That doesn't matter. He's an Eagles fan, and he could be from Philadelphia or not. I'm still embarrassed by it. It's not my sin, but he still shouldn't do it. If he was from Philly,
Miss for doing this should be somebody's counterfeit green, because the fact that he did this, it did deep dive the other day. Mikey Miss is one of the biggest losers there is. You remember when Mikey Miss made the comment about Victor Cruz tearing his Achilles in the end zone? Victor Cruz is over, danced to that, Giants fans, after the Eagles beat them, and Victor Cruz popped his Achilles in the corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
Like, that's a moron. Mikey Miss is a moron. I didn't want to give this, Trevor, I love you. I didn't want to give this the time of day.
Well, I'm just saying it's irrelevant whether the guy was here from or not. So deep dive or not, like, it doesn't matter if the guy was here from or not. He could have been from Oklahoma, right? He still would have, to me, man, it's crazy. I forgot all about that, Gene. I'm glad you brought that up. But, another reason that I went to the game, I was there. And the only reason I went is because my cousin has season tickets, and he said he wanted to sell his ticket. For some reason, he couldn't figure out how to sell a playoff ticket. I'm a salesman. I would have got the mission completed. Therefore, he said, come on down. It was free. I said, okay, it's a free playoff ticket. I'm going to do it. It's a front row seat. Sure. He's in the 200 level. Okay, I'm there. I don't like freezing my nuts off in the cold. It's going to be even worse this week coming up, which we'll talk about later on. And, I park all the way down by Phil Abundance. I don't tell people my secret spot, and I park for free, and I will walk all the way to Lincoln Financial. I'm not joking. I do it for Phillies games too. And point of me doing that is, it's a great experience, but I still think football is best on TV just because that dynamic you can run into.
Games. You know how much I hate going to games. Even if you give me free tickets to the playoffs, I wouldn't go.
Gene, the universe plays with me. I've said this multiple times, and I swear to God, it's happened at least 3 times where I say that, and 3 tickets get thrown right in my face.
There's one football game that I will go to live, and that's the Super Bowl. So
I would do an NFC Championship game because I haven't done one.
I've done it twice.
Okay.
I did it.
Did they win?
Yes. It was the Eagles beat the Atlanta Falcons in 2004. And I was there for the Eagles losing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Gene, we got to send you to Detroit if this happens. If they beat the Rams and whoever it's at, you got to go because you're 2 for 2.
No, I'm 1-1. I'm 1-1.
You said they beat the Falcons?
The Buccaneers, we beat the Falcons.
Oh, you went to the – okay. I thought you were saying the Vikings. So
I was at the
1-1.
Vikings game. I was at the Vikings game where Fred X thanked his hands. I was at that
Okay.
game.
Okay, so you're 1-1. We're not sending you now. That's okay.
2-1 in the playoffs, 1-1 in NFC Championship games.
I would do that, but like the thing is, it's just so we'll get to other stuff, but really quick story. I said that I worked at a company where Lane Johnson was our sponsor, or for Toyota, and I had access to his seats, and everybody's like, "Do you want to go?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to pay for it. I'm not going." Right? This game was the snow game with Shady McCoy. Now, we didn't know it was going to snow. I had a Mustang, horrible in the snow. I'm driving down like I'm going to the Eagles game. I'm stuck on 76 next to a double-decker bus going up a ramp. People get out and push me to get out of the way. I jump on a train that was available at that time in University City near, I believe, like 40th Street. And I took the subway down and got there about 5 minutes into the third quarter. The seats were completely dry because they're under Lane Johnson's, where Lane Johnson sits, or his seats were. And it's under an awning kind of speak. And I'll never forget it, but I was there. But that I said, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And someone was like, well, they're free. And I'm like, oh my God. Maybe it's a good thing. I'm not complaining, but like,
if you gave me free tickets Sunday, I would not be there.
This Sunday, I'm with you on that. I'm not. This Sunday, I'm not going there.
Let's go over grades, though. Let's get into grades. We got a grades, okay. We got a recap, and then we got to get into this Rams matchup. So, where do you want to start?
Let's start with defense.
I mean, I give the defense an A. I think that what they did to the Packers, turned them over multiple times. Darius Slay with a big interception, Quinyon Mitchell with an interception. I actually think the one field goal that they got was an absolute blown call on Quinyon Mitchell, calling the PI in the corner that was not PI. I mean, outside the poor tackling, the one thing I worry about is that defense with Nakobe Dean on the field was A+++++.
I know.
I saw that injury. They targeted Oren Burks like no other, but I give them an A, and I expect Vic Fangio to have Oren Burks and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. ready for this football game.
Yeah, it's going to be a rotation, obviously. I mean, it's definitely going to be a rotation between.
Oren Burks was terrible at this football game. Outside of him, everybody else played really well.
Yeah,
Nolan Smith out of his friggin' mind. He was everywhere. Nolan Smith was great. Nolan Smith actually took out one of their best their left guard on a pull play, popped his shoulder out, second run of the game.
Yeah, he's really come on. I'm really hyped to hear him. I'm really, really excited about that. I will tell you, I'm with you. I'm giving them an A. When I saw Nakobe Dean get up and fall down, I was like, oh, that's not good.
When he slammed his helmet, I was like, that's not good. But overall, defense played great. Nolan Smith was incredible. He got the game ball from the coach. I felt like that the corners played well. Slay with an interception. Quinyon with an interception. I felt like Zach Baum played well, but I'll tell you, the one thing that worries me is Oren Burks. He was awful.
Let me ask you a question. So that leads into and we're cool. You just got here for grades, so we're going to come to you second. So how badly do you think the Nakobe Dean loss is going to affect? It's obviously a loss.
I mean, it affects, but every team in the playoffs is dealing with one of their players not being there, right? Every team that's in the playoffs is dealing with someone that's hurt, that's not there for the season, or look at the Lions situation. They lost 4 or 5 starters. It's no excuse, right? It's got to be next man up. It affects us a ton. It's our defensive signal caller. I'm going to say a statement that you guys will think I'm absolutely out of my mind. I think the Philadelphia Eagles lost their second most important defensive player on the team last Sunday, behind Jalen Carter. I think Nakobe Dean was their second most important defensive player on the team. I don't care if you think I'm crazy, but he's been their signal caller. He's been incredible this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. 128 tackles, somewhere around there, and once he went out of the game, so the green dot, I'm going to assume now, is going to be Zach Baum, correct?
It'll be Zach Baum.
All right. So, cool. What is your grade for the defense?
I give the defense an A-. It was a little bit early in the game that concerned me first couple of drives. I think they got everything together. They did pretty well. I know y'all talked about missing the Kobe Dean, and the importance of that, and how Zach Bond and other guys kind of had to step up and take that role of play caller, because it's a very important point to understand. It's not just missing what Nakobe does as a player, but you're basically losing the quarterback of the defense. So that is something difficult and something that they'll have to overcome. But the year we won the Super Bowl, we were missing several starters, and we still found a way. So, hey, like Gene just said, there's no excuse. It's got to be the next man up. Hopefully, we'll get to see more of other linebackers that we have out there. Maybe we'll get some Hunt sightings. All those guys hopefully will be in a rotation, and we'll see who's playing well, and that's the guy that'll stay out there. We'll see how it works, but I give him an A- for this past week.
So, Huff is benched, obviously. Is he he's healthy? They're not using him, right?
Yeah,
He just got healthy.
He's not healthy?
He just got healthy, I believe, if I remember correctly.
But they're definitely benching him, I believe.
Why play him? Jalix Hunt's playing very well. It's a guy you drafted in the 3rd round. Why play him right now?
If you need a little depth, you could always put him in for some plays. But I don't think you're going to walk him out there and try to give him the start or take anyone else's snaps.
Not the way Nolan Smith's playing. You don't take him out of the game.
Yeah.
By the way, I do want to point this out. As far as tackling goes, now Oren Burks was our lowest graded defensive player for the game. As far as tackling goes, he finished with a tackling grade of 27.3. It's bad, bro. It's bad.
Well, Charles Jr. should be getting some snaps too. So
that's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah.
Where are we headed to next?
All right, so I'm gonna leave the crescendo for last. So we're gonna do Jalen Hurts last.
Okay, so you want to go offensive play call?
Yep.
I've been waiting to get into this. Can I get into this?
Go ahead, tee off.
I think it was a D-. I think the offensive play calling was putrid. I think it was awful. I thought Kellen Moore got out schemed, out coached. As far as the play calling was, thought it was very vanilla. The Packers knew exactly what we were going to do. We had 4 turnovers, and we were a missed field goal away from being in a 1-score game. It would have been 10-0, 10-3 at the half. 1-score game going into the break. No, not okay. Their offensive play calling was poor. Their passing route concepts were poor. He did not adjust when Green Bay started sending blitzes. They made one adjustment, and that was the Dallas Goedert bubble screen. That Dallas Goedert did the majority of that to take that to the house, and he had to make a really good catch and then a couple stiff arms down the sideline to make that work. But their pass game scheme was awful. I think they won this game offensively because they have better players. Their offensive line was better. Their running back is better. But this is not a game plan that you can have going forward in this playoffs. I give them a D.
Cool. What say you?
I give him an F. Freaking sucks. That was garbage. That was the same crap that we did in the first game, the same crap we've been doing all season. We heard all these people that are like, oh, Nick Sirianni, and they're just saving stuff for the playoffs. Once they get to the playoffs, then we're going to expand the offense and we're going to look better. And I want to go back to what I've been saying for the last 2 weeks. You want Jalen Hurts to come in. You want him to look good in the offense, but you don't want to give him any reps in live game action. It showed how freaking stupid that was. Great job, Nick Sirianni. You can't find out a way to whittle out 10 to 15, maybe 20 in 2 games plays for your starting quarterback just so he can be in a rhythm, just so he can be used to the speed of the game again and all that stuff. Those things matter, especially for a guy like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is my guy. I love him as a quarterback, but he needs to be in rhythm from game to game to game to game, because that's what we need to get the decent version or the best version of Jalen Hurts that we can get. And he looked rusty. Thankfully, Green Bay had a lot of injuries as well. But the play calling, that was awful.
I'll tell you right now, and before you go, Godfrey, I could not be more disappointed with the passing game concepts. You look at the 3 big offensive plays that were made in the pass game for the Eagles. There was 3 of them, right? The one was the 7 seconds in the pocket, throw to Jahan Dotson. That's not a schemed up play.
It's definitely
the other
not.
one was Dallas Goedert making a one-handed catch and stiff arming a guy down the sideline that wasn't really schemed up. And then the third play was a rollout in which Jalen Hurts was rolling out from pressure and hit Devontae Smith on a scramble drill for about 22 yards. Those are all plays that were made by the players on the field.
Right.
It's not schemed up plays. Schemed up plays are different. And you got it. You look at the first Green Bay game, that Saquon Barkley wheel route, that was a schemed up play. That was a good play call. I'm looking for that. And you're going to need that if you're going to beat teams in the playoffs. It's just is what it is.
I give the play calling. I'm going to give them an F as well. The thing about this is, so I don't know, man. Like, did they hold him out and play games, or was he really concussed? I kind of read conflicting things, and what my conclusion is, I don't know if he would have cleared protocol until he did. You might have got a couple extra days, but I think that was worse than we thought it was.
Godfrey, let me ask you a serious question. I mean, none of us are medical professionals or anything like that, right?
Correct.
So there's 5 steps in the process for being cleared. By the end of the game that he got concussed in, he was already on phase 5. If you go look up phase 5, it's practicing with the team, going through a practice with the team, or at least a walkthrough.
Right, which you didn't
He did
do
not
until
do that.
Right.
The other steps are the sensitivity, the light, the headaches, all those things. You have to clear all those things first. So to tell me that, oh, he's concussed, he hasn't passed protocol. You notice they would not say, oh, he's still concussed. They just kept saying he didn't pass protocol. He didn't pass protocol because he wasn't given the opportunity to pass protocol.
But why do it? If they just want to sit him,
Because Nick Sirianni, your boy, is stupid and he thinks he's smarter than everybody else.
He may think he's smarter than everybody else, but I don't think organizationally they'll just let them hide that. If they want to sit him, they're going to sit him. I mean,
but what was the advantage you asked? Because of course you're one of those people. What's the advantage? So I'll give you the advantage.
I don't know.
Extra roster spot. Because if he's in the concussion protocol, he doesn't count against the 53-man roster.
But who are they bringing up where it's so advantageous where they got to have him off the roster spot?
Ian freaking Book.
I mean, I don't see them doing that just to have Ian Book on the roster. They
didn't do it to have Ian Book specifically, but again, I've been saying this since we've been doing the show together. If you've watched Eagles Elite, I've been saying this since we hired Nick Sirianni. He thinks he's smarter than everybody else, so he does this dumb stuff. Last year, we had a bunch of people not playing at different times. We had people playing when they shouldn't have played, like the last game of the season when A.J. Brown got hurt. He shouldn't have even been in that game because it didn't matter, right? Late in the game. Now, if you want to start guys just so they don't miss a whole week, but every year he does something. 2 years ago, he didn't play any of the starters. Devontae Smith was trying to reach 1,000 yards, and he was trying to sneak himself in the game, and he wouldn't let him in the game, right? Just so he could make a catch or two to get the 1,000 yards. Nick Sirianni has this thing about, I'm smarter, so I'm going to do things a certain way, and it reeks of that. Because again, if he's stuck at step 2 or 3, I hear what you're saying. He's stuck at the step where all he had to do was freaking practice.
Yeah,
he wasn't practicing. So if you're stuck at the step where you had to practice and you're not practicing, yeah, you're still technically in the protocol.
I just don't see it
wrong with you.
I don't see the benefit of doing it though, right? Like
I don't see the benefit of half the crap that Nick Sirianni does, but he still does it. I don't see the benefit of going for it on 4th down when you can kick a field goal. In times where where it's in a tight game, but Nick Sirianni's been doing it all year.
Right. I mean, I feel like in this particular situation, I don't know. Like everybody wants to say Nick makes all of the decisions, and then they want to say he doesn't make some of the decisions. And I don't know if they're organizationally, they let him make those decisions on his own. I don't know if I believe that. Like people say he's a puppet, then he's not. Then he's the bad guy that isn't the puppet that pulls all the strings. Which is it? Right? Like it's. I just feel like.
Would you like an answer? Because I'll give you an answer.
Shoot.
There are times where Nick will take the bullet for someone else's decision. That's what a head coach does. But there are times where certain situations, you look at the schedule, okay? We had the Commanders when he got hurt. We know the NFL was never going to let him come back in that game because of what's been going on with Tua Tagovailoa. Right?
I've seen Josh Allen get put back in the game inexplicably in the same season. Quickly. And I was like, what?
Again, after last season with what happened with Tua Tagovailoa, Now you cannot come back into the game that you're concussed in. If you get concussed, the NFL does not want you back in the game, even if you can pass and get to the last step. So he was not going to get back in that game, irregardless. The next 2 games were the Cowboys. Terrible team. Giants, even worse team. So, of course, Mr. I'm smarter than everybody else. I can save Jalen for a couple of weeks, and we'll just go with the backups. Yeah.
I don't know, man. You still had some stuff at risk, at least after the Washington game, where like if he could have played, why not do that? I mean, I see the benefit of what you're saying.
You need to win 1 game against Dallas and New York. All you had to do was win one of those 2 games, because losing to Washington already put us out of the running for the first seed. So all you had to do was beat Dallas or the Giants. We were going to do that either way.
Yeah.
The Giants were such a bad team that we were going to beat them even with our backups. That was going to happen.
Yeah, so, I hear you. I just don't know. I mean, that seems like a long charade for them to do. Just so I see the benefit of putting getting some reps in there and keeping the rust off for sure. I do agree there. I just don't know if they said to the detriment of Jalen, hey, let's just rest him, not give him any reps, and then throw him back in the game.
Well,
why couldn't they just say you cleared and not play him?
Let's talk about the similar situation that happened on the same freaking team. You got a guy that can set history, and you don't even give him a half a quarter, any opportunity. You set him too. So guess what?
Well, I wanted
to probably what we've already seen from the same organization.
Yeah, but I wanted him to play. But I do understand why they did that, because of the risk of you're putting against the whole offensive line when you do put them out there. If you decide to do that, if it was my decision, I would have had Saquon play. But I think Saquon has a little bit more to do with that decision than people realize. When you see his behavior, when the unselfish play he made at the end of the game, him letting the young guys eat earlier in the year.
In week 18, he does not look like he had a lot to do with that play.
I mean, he said he was being honest with us, but I just feel like, they gave him a say because they have so much respect for him as a veteran. He could have. Why didn't they pull him in that Giants game?
Then words. On that sideline during that Giants game, Saquon had the saltiest face I ever seen him have.
Which Giants game? The first one or the second one?
The one that they did not let him play in, sir. Why would he be mad in the first one? He was having a ball. He was destroying people. Why would he be mad in that one?
I just feel like the dude wants to win, and he could have. The whole team was mad at him for not running that ball in against the Packers. That was a home run, and he was like, "What if I pull a hamstring? What if another one of my teammates pull a hamstring?" That tells me maybe his mindset changed, but that tells me this dude is thinking long term as far as how far we're going to playoffs.
In his press conference, what he said was, and when they asked him was, he just knew they needed a first down to go ahead and end the game. So he was like, "Well, just get the first down and get." But
down. He also said other people could get hurt on the back end of the play. He definitely said that.
Well, I'm saying the reason he did that was because he knew, get a first down, the game's over.
Well, let's jump into Jalen, because I feel like that would have been the hot topic. But it seems like the offense is, we'll move on that too quickly. But I didn't like the offense because I felt like with him not playing, we did one play that kind of came to mind me is when they faked the brotherly shove or the tush push and then threw the ball. And I'm like, is Jalen really, not rusty enough? Did they practice that play like earlier in the year? They have, but like he obviously didn't get as many reps as he has. He's been rusty. He's been out.
Play call they made the whole game.
Yeah, but the way it played out didn't look great. The play call might have been great, but the execution didn't look great.
Wasn't there, so you can blame that on Jalen for missing the throw. Or
they can, but the guy's rusty. I expected him to be rusty.
Bro, I get it. We can talk about him being rusty. First play of the game, he threw a 25-yard dot to John Dotson in the back of the end zone. 7 seconds.
He did have like 10 seconds to sit back there and feel comfortable, though.
He had a long time. That was a hell of a throw. I mean, and good for Jahan Dotson.
I love Jalen, but I'm just saying he did have a long time back there.
7 seconds.
He could have ate a sandwich, but
I gave Jalen a C for the game. I thought he was not great, but not bad. He didn't turn the football over, which is really important. Kept the sticks moving, was the general in the offense, helped with the running game. Whenever they needed a play, they would get that first down. I don't know. It was like, what's that? Bland? It was very bland.
Yeah.
Dry turkey. I don't know how else to put it to you.
Turkey sucks in general, but
white bread. No cheese, no mustard.
Yeah.
I 1,000% agree. Completely a C. Nothing special. Nothing horrible, just a average game. No
Sure.
turnovers. The receivers, it felt like they were covered a lot of the time. So rather than try to force something or make something happen, he did. The one thing I don't like though was he took more hits than he should have. Not throwing the ball away. Like, I don't care if he takes hits. He's a big guy. He squats a lot. He can take hits. But I'm saying, why take unnecessary hits? Why take unnecessary sacks and stuff when you can just throw the ball away when you see that there's nothing open?
My favorite Jalen moment was when Saquon Barkley got thrown on the ground after the play. Jalen Hurts got right in the face of the. By the way, the Packers got to be the least disciplined team I've seen all year. They made a lot of stupid fucking plays in that game.
Yeah.
I'm serious, man. They're a very undisciplined team.
Mm-hmm.
They're sloppy. I agree. Yeah, I give them a C. I expected them to be rusty. I didn't expect them to be world beaters. I do agree that the scheme really affected how he looked in certain ways because they did not scheme people open. I didn't like the routes they're having them run. I don't think they took advantage of guys in the Packers secondary that they could have if they schemed it differently. And I just feel like they didn't set him up for success with that scheme, knowing that he was rusty, right? Because of the lack of reps. So it's not entirely his fault. He didn't turn the ball over, he protected. I like to see him not take hits, though. Like where he runs, I like to see him slide better. I like to see him avoid contact more. He really needs to get better at that. And people don't talk about that enough. It's one of these things where like some quarterbacks are good at it and some aren't, right? And you know, but he's got to get to the point where if he's going to use his legs, which I want him to do, he can't be getting these clean ass hits on him.
Oh, you got lucky on that one hit. I'll tell you right now. I know.
mean, I don't want to see him jacked up like that.
Packers ran into each other because if Jalen Hurts did not have his head down a little bit there, that could have been another concussion. That was bad.
Yeah, and coming off of a concussion, I think I don't know what happens in practice entirely. I'm not there, right? But I would hope that the coaching staff would be like, listen, you have to get down. You have to slide better. You have a concussion history. This has to happen for you to be successful. We want you to be who you are. We want you to play what makes you successful, but you got to be better at that. And that's the thing in his game. Like I don't think it's talked about enough. And he needs to get better at doing it. I almost feel like some of the guys that are good at doing it were good baseball players. Like, Russell Wilson was a baseball player, Kyler Murray's a baseball player. And it's almost like, it reminds me of Michael Vick. Like Michael Vick, he wasn't really good at sliding. He would dive head first, right?
Those two belong in the same sentence, by the way.
What? Kyler Murray and
for the QB play right now, Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray belong in the same sentence.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I mean, Russell Wilson at one time was one of the better quarterbacks, or at least I would say, at least a couple years, top 5, right? Like, so, to me, I just need Jalen to do that because I want to see him last. I don't want to see him be battling these nagging injuries because he's big, but big dudes have to take hits too, and that's why running backs don't have a big shelf life. I don't want to see him get hit. I want to see him be in the game, And if you look at that Washington play, right, like that was dirty, no doubt about it. But correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, because I'm jogging my memory. I felt like he went forward with his head, or he was leaning forward on that run, right? Am I correct? Where I forget the guy's name that kind of like
slide. It was a late forward slide. He slid sideways.
Yeah, he slid like forward sideways, and he kind of went down. His head went down. It wasn't a good slide.
Didn't mean that the guy needed to nosedive into his helmet.
I agree there too.
Yeah.
No argument for me.
By the way, that give him a $15,000 pay raise. You nosedive into the quarterback's helmet, give him $15,000 because especially if you don't get a penalty call, that guy should have got a nice bonus check.
Yeah, I mean,
look, it worked. We lost the football game.
Yeah, they were gonna boat race them, and if that game kept going on, I would surmise that Saquon Barkley probably would have had like maybe 20 more yards to get the record. Once Jalen was out, they were like, "Oh yeah, we know what to do here." So,
I mean, they understood the assignment.
They did. So let's go.
The Rams, baby. We only got 20 minutes left. Let's get in the Rams.
Ram. Randy the Ram Jam. Let's see. The Rams beat the Vikings pretty decisively, right? So
what?
Yeah. So what is what I say? I agree. The spread is 5.5 last time I checked. I don't know if it went up. It's probably still around there, Gene, I would assume, right?
It's the alternate. Eagles minus 10.5.
Minus 10.5. So you say play the line up, which means you're confident in a resounding Eagles win.
Bro, anybody that sits there and listens to ESPN or listens to Dan Orlovsky or listens to any of these guys who's talking about the Rams have a chance in this football game, they have absolutely no chance in this football game. And I'm going to tell you why they have no chance in this football game.
Tell us.
The Philadelphia Eagles absolutely dominate them on the lines, in the trenches. And that's what matters, right? The left side of that Rams line, the last time they played Jalen Carter, they got absolutely physically abused. Abused. They don't have a left tackle on the roster. Their starting left tackle right now has not practiced this week. He's got an injury, upper body injury. Their left guard had a 28 PFF rating the last time he played us. Their center got absolutely destroyed. The only offensive lineman on record is Haverstein, and he's okay. He's not terrible, but the Philadelphia Eagles dominated that line. They sacked Matt Stafford 5 times. They got pressure on him, and it's going to happen again. If you don't think that's going to happen in Philadelphia, in the snow, in the cold weather, this Rams team, they left Arizona. They had to figure out how to get back to L.A. on Tuesday. They got their belongings in the fire, and then they have to travel out on a short week to play at Philadelphia in the snow at 12 o'clock their time. It is not a good football. It's not a good week to be a Rams fan. I have zero doubts in this football game because our offensive and defensive line absolutely dominate theirs. Jarrett Verse played against us before. Talk about that Rams defensive line having 8 sacks. Yeah, I'm not worried about that at all because the Eagles' offensive line is not going to allow Jarrett Verse to run around the outside. Jordan Mailata is playing next-level football right now. Lane Johnson's playing next-level football right now. Landon Dickerson is incredible right now. Cam Jurgens is incredible right now. Mekhi Becton had his best game of the season versus the Rams earlier in the year. This Philadelphia Eagles offensive line is going to dominate the front, and it's going to open up the Eagles for multiple scores through the run game, through the pass game. I don't think this game's close. I don't. I think the Eagles dominate the football game because they own the trenches. You ever got in a fight with somebody in school and then had to fight them again? Or played a team in basketball to beat you by 35 points? Or a team in baseball to hit you around, you could never get them out? Then you play them again? You remember that shit. It stays in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Rams are going to get destroyed in this football game.
Question here. You're going to laugh at this. Who would you rather start at tackle? Checkered Fred or Cam Robinson?
Oh, I don't know, bro.
I'm going Checkered Fred. I'm going Checkered Fred.
Checkered Fred with Jeff Stoutland. Give me Checkered Fred.
I'm going Checkered Fred.
Cam Robinson's been getting beaten like he stole something since he came into the NFL. The Jaguars all but gave him away, and he started at left tackle for the Vikings in a playoff game. You should know something when the number 4 overall team in the drafting is giving away a left tackle and he's starting in a playoff game. No way.
The Vikings were desperate with Christian Darrisaw getting injured.
I know.
So I applaud them for doing something, but man, they beat him like a government mule. Like,
but was that really doing something though? Was that really doing something?
No.
But they, that's a whole other game that I'll get into on sideline to sideline of how they approached it because they should have seen that coming. But it was the funny thing is there's not a Checkered Fred that they'll be facing on this team, or hopefully not, knock on wood, because he's on the team, but there won't be a Cam Robinson type. They will not be able to have their way with the offensive line that they had their way with the Vikings. It's not going to happen. It will not happen. And the thing is that emotion is probably gone. I get the whole fire thing and all that stuff, but I don't think the Rams can match up with the Eagles because they could just bully them around the field they want. And this is, listen, I looked at the stats from the game this season. Saquon Barkley, 26 carries for 255 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jalen had 39. Gainwell had 22. What does that tell you? That's over 300 yards rushing from the Eagles alone. A.J. Brown still got off with 6 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown. So you look at the Rams, What were they able to do? They like to run the ball. They like play action. They like to do things like that. Kyrie Williams, 16 carries for 72 yards. Puka still got 9 and 117, but he had no touchdowns. Cup had a touchdown, 860. But there was really nothing of note. No interceptions from Stafford, 24-36, 243. So, when I look at that, it tells me the Eagles commanded that game. And when you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped. I mean, that's just no other way to slice or dice it. And then when you look at the defense side of the ball, I mean, I'm trying to look at who had sacks that game. Oh, yeah, Nakobe Dean had a sack. I remember that. Yeah, 2 sacks from Milton Williams. Milton Williams had a game that game. Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat each had a sack. So you had 5 sacks from the defense in that game. I'll take that. If you could have a semblance of that effort, again, it's not even going to be close. On top of that, they got to come across the country on a short week into a non-friendly weather game. And I know that gets overplayed a little bit, but do realize Matthew Stafford has played in cold weather, but he's played on the Lions most of his career, played in NFC North, and he's played with the Rams. NFC West, you don't have a lot of cold city stadiums up there. Then you have a lot of teams with domes. Even in NFC North, you have domes outside of Chicago and Green Bay. So we'll see what he does. He does have a propensity to turn over the ball, and he didn't do that in the game against the Eagles. But I got to believe we're going to see some turnovers here because they're going to have to force the ball because the Eagles are going to have the lead, and our defense is going to tee off on them. So I am with Gene. I have no problem if I was a betting man teasing this up to the 10 points. I'm very confident about it. And, that's this week. And I just think the Rams don't have the personnel or the depth in the positions they need to put a challenge up to this Eagles team on the road.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? What's your breakdown of this game?
So the first thing I want to say is the Vikings are who we thought they were.
Yep.
Sam Darnold is who we thought he was.
Yep.
When it matters. Regular season, that's cute. That's great. You get some stats. You probably get a chance somewhere. But in the playoffs, when it matters, even last week, we saw Sam Darnold fold like a envelope top as soon as there was a time that he needed to make plays and be the guy that he was trying to be all season. As far as this game goes, I think everything's been said except for 2 simple points I'll make. Quarterbacks. I would rather have Jalen Hurts than Matthew Stafford. And I think quarterback is an intensely huge part of playoffs. If your quarterback's not playing at a level where they at least can be a solid game manager. Game manager is what Jalen Hurts was last week. No turnovers, made some plays when he needed to, got us points. Defense did not make big turnover plays, like scooping scores or anything, but defense did their thing. But they didn't get any extra points for us last week. So that's why the game was where it was at. You look at Stafford, he's going to take some chances. He's going to throw the ball in the coverage, I feel like. And I feel like he's going to go out there and do what he does a lot in the playoffs. And that's turn the ball over with interceptions or fumbles or whatever. And I think we're going to be able to capitalize on some of those. I won't say all of them, but some of those. My only concern is the story of the game being close because, the Rams are playing for all of LA and the Fires and blase this and blase that. And, people can look at it and say, oh, cool, you're being just a conspiracy theorist. Possibly. But that's the only thing that would concern me as far as how the game could be closer than we anticipate. But as far as player for player, running game, I'd much rather have Saquon Barkley. I'd much rather have our offensive line than their offensive line. So the things that matter, quarterback, run game, the things that matter on the offensive side of the ball, I think we outrank them. Defensively, we know we're the top defense in the league, right? So clearly, we should be able to dominate them on both sides of the ball. I don't know if we'll have a game plan that's better equipped to throw the ball this week. I would hope so, but we still have the same combination of play callers that we've had all season. Sometimes we say, oh, man, that looks really good. And you feel like it's a Kellen Moore call game. And then sometimes you're like, I don't know who's calling it, but this does not look good. So we'll see how it goes as far as that. But there's no reason we should lose this game, and it shouldn't be close. But like I said, the things that concern me is the story of all the Rams. They hung in there because, they were playing for all of LA with the Fires and blase this and blase that. So those are the things that concern me. But if we're just looking at talent versus talent, game versus game, we've played them already.
They had Nakua and everybody, and Nakua had a big game when we played him, but he didn't get touchdowns. I don't care if Nakua has 200 yards receiving as long as he doesn't get any touchdowns. That's the only thing that matters. If we can keep him out of the end zone, I don't care how many yards he has.
This defense will let you get a lot in between the 20s. I shouldn't say a lot, but so you could do whatever you want between the 20s. But as the field gets tighter, it's a lot different. They could throw over the middle. He's going to break tackles. Nakua is going to get his, but it's the thing about that Rams and Vikings game, what I really, really noticed was, Sam Darnold held on the ball too long, right? They weren't scheming I don't think they schemed quick passes in certain situations for him. However, that same approach will not work with Jalen Hurts because he'll take off. He's going to take off. There's times where Sam Darnold even had any brains or mobility, he'd be able to take off for 5 yards. If they approach Jalen Hurts like that, he will gash them with the run. So they don't have that same luxury that they had when they're playing a Sam Darnold. And they wanted to get to him quickly because they didn't want him to be able to tee off and throw to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hockenson. When I watched that game, I thought their game plan going in should have been quick passes to get the ball out to Aaron Jones in the flat, TJ Hockenson, because the Rams have been a sieve for the tight end. Dallas Goedert could have another big game ahead of him. If you look at the Rams' last 6 or 7 games, tight ends have been doing good. Noah Fant had a day against them recently. And, not to take anything away from Noah Fant, but I like to think Dallas Goedert's better than him. So TJ Hockenson even still had a little bit of a game, even though they lost, right? So there are a lot of things that, left to be desired to be schemed from, I think, the Vikings and the execution on Sam Darnold's part that I don't think are going to happen with this team. They're not going to be able to get to him like that. And it's not going to be one-dimensional. They said, Sam, you go back. And what's really surprising about that is it almost looked like a copy of what the Lions did the week before, and it's just that there were slight differences, but all in all, they wanted to get Sam off a spot, and, that's not going to work with Jalen. So they're going to be aggressive. They're probably going to blitz, but I don't see that being a problem, and they're going to have to really, in the back of their mind, they remember 300 rushing yards on them. I don't see anything that's changed with that defense to the better that could alleviate that problem. The Rams defense.
Eagles 31, Rams 17.
I like that score. Cool. What do you think?
35-17.
I'm gonna go 38-13 Eagles. There's gonna be a couple possessions that don't end up being any points because they got to end up going for it, and it could be a field goal. So they're only putting 13 points up. Eagles put 38.
I have zero fear of this football game. The Eagles lose this football game, something horribly has to go wrong.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean,
if you're the Eagles, you have two things that you need to understand fully when you're playing against the Rams offense. They're going to force the ball to Puka Nacua. You have corners that can stick with them. And they're going to try to run off tackle to Kyren Williams.
And we got to make sure that we all.
Jalen Carter is going to listen. They got to hype up LA teams, New York teams a lot of times. They got to hype it up, play into the media, but a real X's and O guy, someone who likes football or what, you look at this and you're like, yeah, can it happen on any given Sunday? Sure. But I just don't see that. I think Saquon Barkley's brought a lot to this team, and also in leadership, he's brought a lot to this team. And I just think, I feel like that dude's on a mission. I just feel when I watch him, I feel like he's on a mission. This dude is like, I get to play winning football now. I get to play meaningful football. I'm playing for something in one of the only times in my career. He had that 1 year there in the playoffs, but overall, he hasn't played meaningful football like this in the NFL. And that dude is, he's going to go off. They can know it. They could try to stop it. Saquon will go off this game. I think he has over 140 yards, and I'm not joking. He's going to finish him like Mortal Kombat. So that's my take on it.
They absolutely abused Jared Verse the last time they played too.
Yeah. 100%. Anybody got any counterfeit greens?
I went over mine earlier in the show. My biggest one is and I said it last night on Wire to Wire. I'll say it again tonight. The men that stood around and watched that idiot yell at that girl and didn't do anything, that's a problem to me.
Yeah.
You're a counterfeit man if you stood around and watched a man bully a female. I don't care what jersey she's wearing.
Yeah. Now, do you blame the dude for not saying anything? I mean, I think
Bro, I would have, but I don't blame him. You got 30,000 Eagles fans.
Yeah, I don't blame him either.
Fighting a
I
riot, you end up in jail. Like, I think what he did was the smartest thing. He recorded him. That guy lost his job. Who won that fight? You tell me who won that fight.
Yeah. Over a football game, you're gonna lose your job, and you know you just can't act like a human being. My counterfeit green is similar. I was reading it in a lot of Facebook comments and Instagram comments regarding this story, and it would be a comment like, "Well, that's what you get for wearing an enemy jersey in a visiting stadium," and someone would reply to that person, "Don't act like trash," and then they would curse, and I'm like, "Oh, you just proved their point. You're trashy. You're a trashy fan. You're a trashy Eagles fan, and you're the type of fan that embarrasses me that you like my team because it's trashy. You should never. There's no excuse for that. If they weren't, it's light. Be real. Like, where are you at in your life where you have to go after someone like that just because they're wearing another team's colors? We're not in a gang. That's not what this is. Stop. You're counterfeit green. Cool. You got something?
Bird gang. No,
Bird gang. Yes. That's we're not going to see you next Tuesday on people. You know what I'm saying?
Eagles fans that are still harping on Jalen Hurts, still trying to dump on the QB. Just stop. Right? Let's just enjoy winning the playoffs. You calling people like Hurts humpers and all this
Hurts
stuff.
Humpers.
Just stop, man. Just calm down. Let's ride the wave. Let's see how far we can get. I believe we have a strong opportunity to win a Super Bowl. We don't need your negative energy. Just shut up and watch the game. Like, we don't even need that, bro. Come on, stop it.
Yeah,
Support the quarterback. We don't have you run around. Oh, Kenny Pickett played really well against Dallas.
Oh my God,
man. If I was in your vicinity, I would pour baby powder on the back of my hand and slap the snot out of your face.
Just make sure you're not recorded when you do that. But
I don't care if you record me because I'm not going to lose my job. They don't care what I do as long as I show up for work.
I want to add on to your counterfeit green there, right? And we'll leave after this. Say our goodbyes. You know, I expected him to be rusty, but I think a lot of Eagles fans have short memories, and I don't think they're the same type of quarterback. But when Nick Foles came in for Carson Wentz, and we went into the playoffs, that Raiders game, then into the playoffs, etc., he was complete ass until the Vikings game. He was awful, right? He was rusty, right? In a sense, and he didn't play well, and he's a streaky quarterback, but he caught fire. I could see Jalen Hurts catching fire as well as he gets more reps. Now, the great thing is they didn't have a Saquon Barkley on that other team. They had other great players, but we have a Saquon Barkley on this team. So it takes some pressure off Jalen. Yeah, I mean, the Kenny Pickett stuff, the Mormon missile, you get real. We love the backup quarterback of Philly. It's so damn annoying. And that's all I got. So, with that being said, we're going to end it. It's time for the playoffs. Sunday, 3:00, right, gentlemen? That's the game time. I hope it snows its ass off. And this is the Godfrey, Cool McCain, and the NFL Genius not saying goodbye, just saying take a birds deep.
I'll see you on next Thursday for another victory.